Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to today's Lightspeed webinar. And our topic today is mastering the service scheduling in Lightspeed. Exciting topic because I know that everybody uses our service scheduler in many different ways. So we want to talk about the ways you can use it and really utilize it to increase efficiencies and productivity in your service department. So before we jump into the webinar, let's talk a little bit about our housekeeping. Many of you have been on our webinars before, but just a reminder, like anytime today throughout the webinar, ask your questions down in the chat and the Q&A. We've got some excellent panelists on with us today, Brian Tierney and Quentin Rico, to help also address those questions. We'll try to get to every one of your questions that come in today during the webinar, either live or through the chat. If not, we will follow up with you with some of those questions as well. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to today's presenter, Josh Farrell. Welcome, Josh.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana, and thank you everyone for joining this morning. Just a little bit about me. I've got a little over 10 years of dealership experience. I've been with Lightspeed since 2020. Spent the majority of my time in the training department, but have since moved over into becoming a sales engineer. During those 5 years, I've become, reluctantly at times, but I have become the subject matter expert on CRM, calendar, and dealership processes. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into Lightspeed here, and we're going to talk directly about the calendar. Now, the calendar gives you an opportunity to not only set appointments for customers, but also dispatch work to technicians within your service department. Now, some of you may know the difference, but just so that we have clarity, the difference between an appointment and a scheduled repair order. The appointment is the time in which the customer is going to be dropping off that unit to be worked on. And then the dispatching of a repair order is essentially assigning it to a technician and allowing them to get to work. Without further ado, just a couple of things about the calendar. There are multiple ways that you can get there. We can get there from the word service up at the top in the gray bar, which represents that service module, going down to the service scheduler with calendar, which will take you to the page that you see behind here. Or we do have a calendar button in the upper right-hand corner of Lightspeed next to that fantastic Get Help button, which, by the way, houses not only the ability for you to reach out to support in the event that you need it, but has a knowledge center. That inside that knowledge center are how-to guides, including how to set an appointment in the calendar or schedule work for a technician in the calendar. They're step-by-step guides. Some of them even have pictures. I would highly recommend that if you have not accessed the Knowledge Center and you have access to Lightspeed, go ahead and click that Get Help button. The other way that you can do it is we can go into a repair order, and there is a button across the top inside the RO that will allow you to access the service calendar. So without further ado, here is the calendar. As you can see, I have buttons across the top, one of which is to view ROs, and this is how we would schedule repair orders inside of the service calendar. Now, you may be asking, how do I see that scheduled work? Well, that's pretty easy. We give you the capability of setting up calendars inside of Lightspeed. And if I click the drop down next to the View People's Calendars, you can see I have 3 calendars set up. One for my technicians, one for my service desk, and one for my detail department. So if I wanted to schedule a job for a repair order or for a technician, all I need to do is click on the tech calendar. As you can see over on the right-hand side, I've got my 4 technicians and I have myself. One thing you may notice as we go through the different calendars is I, the user in Lightspeed that is using the system, will always be listed inside that calendar so that I can see what I have going on today, along with what else is transpiring in that calendar. If I needed to schedule a repair order, very easy to do. All I have to do is click on the RO, click the schedule button, select one of my technicians, pick the date, pick the time, and click OK. You may notice on the left-hand side of the screen that RO will go from ready to work to scheduled. And over on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see that that RO is now scheduled for that technician. Now, moving jobs on the schedule is super easy. All we have to do is left-click, drag, and drop it down, and we can move it to a different time for that technician. Or if I need that technician to work on something else and I'm going to dispatch that to another tech, I can again left-click, drag and drop, drag it over. And now, instead of Brad working on this repair order, Chris will be working on this repair order shortly after lunch. Another couple of quick items while we're talking about service service scheduler with the technicians is I have the capability to right click at any point in time on anything that I have scheduled. I can edit who is working on it or what time. I can also unschedule it from the calendar completely, but I also have the capability to pin it. Now you may be wondering, why would we want to pin an RO? Well, that is because we have the capability of bumping items. So if I unpin this repair order, I have the capability of bumping this forward. So let's say that Brad was working in the service department as a technician, and he had a job previously that was taking a little bit longer than we had originally anticipated. I can right click, I can bump forward, and I can bump it forward hours or minutes. I can click apply. And in the event that I have something scheduled, it will not allow me to bump that. The reason being is because within the calendar, you do have the capability of marking off time for technicians to take lunch, or maybe they're gone for the day. In that scenario, let's say hypothetically that Brad came back from lunch and said, hey, I have an emergency. I need to leave work for the day. I know that never happens, but let's say that we needed to do that. I can left click, drag, and move this repair order over, let's say to Chris, and then I can right click back on Brad's calendar and I can mark him off. Let's say I'm just going to type in a description. I'm going to click save, and now Brad has been marked off. Now, those are just a few of the quick little quirks when we're talking about scheduling ROs for technicians. Let's talk about setting appointments for customers. If I click the drop down again on the view my calendar and I go to my service desk calendar, and let's go ahead and click the view ROs button and make that go away, I would be able to go in and see my service writer schedule. Why would I need to see my service writer schedule? Well, this is not only will we be able to see the customers with the appointments for them to drop off their units for work, but as you can see on the left-hand side in my calendar, we also have repair order promise times. Again, I know this never happens in your service department, and if it does, maybe it only happens once or twice in a blue moon, but a customer you have told previously, could have been weeks ago, that their unit would be ready to pick up, and they show up, and you have no idea if their unit is ready. When you have your calendar set up properly, I can see that Mr. Howell, we have promised him that his unit will be ready at 5 p.m. so that I can follow up with whomever might be working on that to ensure that is truly the case and it will be ready. To set a customer appointment, let's say the customer calls in and says, hey, I need to get my unit serviced. All you have to do anywhere on the screen is right click and select new follow-up. From here, you would be able to go in, type in the customer name, select the customer, and then follow the prompts to set the appointment. One of the things you may know from Lightspeed when utilizing the CRM is we do have the capability of sending appointment reminders. That's this little box that's checked here. And if I click that magnifying glass to the right, I can see how often or how soon I'm going to remind that customer of their appointments. By the way, just as a heads up, these are automated appointment reminders. No one at your dealership actually has to physically send those things. But I would go in and I would set an appointment. And as you can see by the appointments that we have set here, not only do I have the information of what or the subject of that appointment, but if I type in notes like the one I have highlighted that says, make sure we take pictures, I can see all of those directly from the service scheduler. Now, last but not least, and certainly not least, we're going to talk about the detail department. So in our dealership today, we have a detail department. Inside that detail department, if I go to my detail, I have the capability within Lightspeed, utilizing the CRM, to set tasks for my detailer to make sure that they have, in fact, the opportunity to know they have something that they need to do. On top of that, the way that we have this set up here, just so you all are aware, within the mobile application, we do have the capability of going in and seeing this task. And I say we, the detail member, would have the ability to see this task on their mobile application, so they do not have to come up to the service desk and ask, hey, what's next? And with all of that being said, again, we have the capability of doing this not only from the calendar, But if I was to go ahead and open up my estimates and repair orders, again, I have that capability if I jump into an RO that I can go in and I can see and schedule work right from here. And again, that will be the button that is in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. You will see will be a schedule repair order button, and it will give you the capability of going directly into the calendar. Your repair order promise times, as I've shown you a couple of different times here inside the calendar, will be in the estimates and repair order itself, and that will be the promise time that you set with the customer. One thing to note, when you create an RO inside of Lightspeed, that promise date will default to the time in which that you check that unit in. This is as designed so that as you're talking to the customer after you may have diagnosed the unit or you maybe need to order parts, you can go ahead and agree on a time in which that you can set with the customer for their unit to be ready to pick up. And you can set that promise date and time here inside the RO, hit save, and then again in your calendar, it will show you those repair order promise times. With that being said, Brian and Quentin, I don't know if there are any questions currently inside the chat here, but if any of those are out there, I would love to take a little bit of time to answer those as we have them.
Yeah, so far, Josh, it looks like everybody's tracking right along. Haven't seen any serious questions yet, but you're doing great.
The only one question that did come up, people are just wondering if it's recorded. And of course, the webinar will be recorded, so we'll make that available to everybody after the webinar. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys have seen or any of the key things that have come in too from people. So just again, encourage you, if you have questions, go ahead and enter those in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen.
Also at this time, Brian, Quentin, if you have anything to add or anything that you think I might have missed when we were going over this information, please let me know.
I would offer one little tidbit, Josh, and this is something that may be on folks' minds as they're looking at this. Permissions. Permissions is often a subject that comes up during webinars, during product demonstrations and training situations. Do I have to have permission to see the scheduler, and of course permission to manipulate it? And beyond that, Josh, can I control who sees what's on my calendar and vice versa? Do I have that capability?
Fantastic thought. Yes to all of the above. You do have certain security parameters based on the job role that will allow you certain things within the Lightspeed calendar. Now, I'm an admin in the system, so therefore I have the capability of going in and editing availability for specific users. So I can go in and I can set when they go to lunch, when they come back from lunch, when they go home for the day, also when they show up. And if you have the ability to, you can share your calendar with other people. Sharing your calendar is an important step in order to set up those calendars that you can see, the three that I have set up, the detail, the service desk, and the technician. You need to go in the event that you're a current user with Lightspeed, you need to go in and you need to make sure that you share that calendar with the people in which that you would like to share your calendar with, so that they can not only see it and set up calendars based off of your day as well, but also so that they can see yours and vice versa.
That's awesome. Thanks, Josh. There are a lot of questions now that have come in. So it's like, just take a look at a few of these. And I think it's kind of nice too. One of the first ones is somebody just wanted you to show them again how you actually create a task on a text timesheet. Just kind
Say
of
that
walk
one
them
more
through
time.
those steps, like how you actually create like a task for a tech.
Yeah. So if I go into my tech calendar, let's go into the tech, and let's say I'm going to bring up the ROs again, and let's say I needed to create a task for Brad. I can right click anywhere in the system. I can go to a new follow-up, and let's just go ahead and type in a customer name here. We'll use Garth. We'll go through and we will set up and we can assign it to a specific repair order. I'm going to make Brad the owner of this. So I'm going to select Brad. I'm going to select a date and time. I'm going to set my duration. Let's say this is just a little 10-minute task, and I'm going to click the type as task. At that point in time, I can type in my subject, and I can click save, and that will show up on the technician's schedule. Now, Brad has 2 users in the system, so I picked a poor example here, but that task would show up similar to what we have set up in the detail section of our calendar.
Perfect. I think that one answers that specific question. I know Quentin and Brian, I know there's a bunch of other questions out there too. I don't know if there's anything specific that you guys want to just highlight. Thanks, Quentin.
Yeah, there was one question in particular here, and maybe you can show us a little bit more on this, Josh. It's when scheduling a ticket, does it assign all the lines to the tech, or can you piece those out individually?
That's a fantastic question. And in the event that I select a repair order that has multiple jobs, I would be able to schedule the jobs down below. Now, when you saw me clicking the schedule button earlier, I was clicking this schedule button above. But yes, you have the capability of selecting specific jobs and scheduling those jobs for specific technicians. And as you can see in my example here, if I go back to our tech calendar, I have part of Garth Brooks's repair order under Brad, and then I have Chris finishing up that repair order after lunch.
I think that's kind of the piece where people want to know, like, somebody's a specialist in your tech area that works on one particular area. How do you break out that component of the repair to get to the right tech and to keep your tech schedules completely full and booked at all time? You want to make sure you're getting that, you know, productivity that you can from your team. Some other questions that are out there, I know we've got a few, so maybe we will have you, Josh, just stay in Lightspeed just to kind of look at those.
Yeah.
Brian, I know you were answering one too. Do you want to come back on, Brian, and maybe even address that one as a whole group?
Yeah, I was just responding to a question that an individual sent in regarding status changes. So they'll create a task, they'll assign it to the calendar. The status on the job changes from ready to work to maybe waiting for parts or whatever that status change is, and they're not seeing a change on the calendar that reflects that status change. In my mind, I'd like to really kind of see that to determine maybe what's actually going on. But any thoughts to that, Josh?
Well, one thing that we may be running into, and you may have seen when we came in to Lightspeed and the calendar, I have RO status as selected as only ready to work. So you might want to go up and you might want to go in and select all for the RO status, which will bring up all of the repair orders. Or you could scroll down and you can go to scheduled, and you would be able to see that scheduled work inside the calendar via the view ROs button. So chances are we've just got an RO status that's selected specific. Maybe it is ready to work. And when you schedule that, it's going to drop off of that list because it's no longer in an RO status of ready to work. It would then be in scheduled.
Perfect. That's excellent. So hopefully that helps. If there's any continued issues with that might be, system related, maybe we'll reach out to our customer support team to have them take a look. But another question, Josh, if I may throw another one at you.
Sure.
I was responding to an individual who then has followed up with one of the responses. And I get this a lot in product demonstrations and in webinars, particularly around concierge service or rental, or maybe we're delivering a unit to or picking up a unit from a location. And perhaps there isn't a customer name, maybe there's no repair order, maybe there's no task, quote unquote, assigned to something. Is there a way that I could generate activity for a dispatch driver, a PDI person, or I just need someone to sweep the floor and I need to assign that to an individual on a calendar? Is there some way that we can do that?
Fantastic question. I'm going to jump back to our detail side of things. So you can see Doug is our detailer here in this database. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is, in the event that you are, let's say that it is just some sort of around the shop work that you're needing done, I would create Doug as a customer, because you can right click and set a new follow-up and you can type in that customer name. Now, I don't know that Doug is a customer in the system, but let's just go ahead and look. We're going to go ahead and use this customer here, and I can actually create a follow-up or a task underneath the customer file. I can assign Doug to it. And again, let's just say it's going to happen today, and let's say we need him to do it for 30 minutes here. And we're going to make it a task, and we're going to clean shop, right? I'm going to click save, and now it's going to populate on Doug's list inside of his calendar. And again, little selfless plug here for the mobile application. It's going to pop up on the mobile application for Doug as a task to do. And if he's got his notifications turned on, he's going to be notified of it. So therefore, we don't even have to go find Doug wherever he might potentially be hiding out at. No offense, Doug. But he would be able to be notified via his mobile app that he needs to clean the shop at 10 a.m.
Perfect. I love that. That's great. That's a powerful feature as well. I love that. I do have one question, and Josh, you and I spoke about this yesterday as we were collaborating on this subject. We knew we'd get this question. Can you print the new calendar/scheduler?
That's a fantastic question. We do have data sets within our custom reports that you would be able to reach out to support and help build that report for you, but also you can print the screen. Now, I do have a lot of dealerships that are trying to get away from paper. I know we've all been trying to get away from that dreaded printer for many years now. They will go in and they will log into a computer in the shop, and they will have their calendar set up with all of their technicians to allow them to go in and see that, so that they can see what is due next, what they're going to be working on the next item. Some shops have it on a big screen TV. Some of them just have it on a computer desktop. But those are the options that we currently have.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe one other question, Josh, if you don't mind. And I know this is a question that I see quite a bit from folks, setting up a new group. If I've got the group that's the concierge, the rental people, the service people, maybe even salespeople, what qualifies for a new group, and how does that happen? And I see you're showing us now. Perfect.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're going to click the People's Calendars button. And when you go in, you're going to, where it says select group, you will create a new group. You will select the people in which that you want to be a part of that new group. Down just a little bit, you'll click the add selected. And as you can see in Lightspeed, now we've got a red line here, which means we've got a requirement. So we've got to go in and we've got to type in what this is going to be. You just simply type that in, you click save, and then that group will not only be available to you immediately because it will switch to that, but you can click the drop down next to the View My Calendar button, and you would be able to toggle between those groups.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was a question from a couple people out there. I know another thing too that I've seen out in the questions is people are just wondering, like, how do they learn more? Because a lot of people, I think even on the webinar today, are probably still using the old scheduler and not familiar with what's new. And it's not even that new, but it's a big shift in your organization to work with the new calendar. So, a couple of resources that I know we have available. Josh mentioned, the step-by-step checklists that are out in the tech knowledge. I don't know, Quentin, do you know if there's any Lightspeed learnings classes that are all specific to the new scheduler? I'm not familiar with that, and you may not be either, but
Yeah,
put you on the spot.
No, you're fine. I think there might be, but they actually don't go as in depth as we're going here right now. So what I recommend is once this recording comes out, use it as a reference, have it bookmarked in your browser and take a look at it again. There's also other webinars on the service scheduler that you can reference as well, along with those tech knowledge documents. Along with that, I saw a question asking if one-on-one training is possible as well. I believe you can go through your sales rep and request to have training at your dealership. There is a cost associated with that one-on-one type training, but you can do that as well.
Excellent.
Great point. And what they will do too is for everybody who registered for the service scheduler webinar, when we do the follow-up with the recording link, we'll actually put in the documents that, Josh referenced for some of those step-by-step checklists and get you pushed over to our technology database so you can see all the support and help that's out there. Excellent resources for you as well. Other questions that are out there? I know we've got a few more minutes, and I saw there's a couple of other questions that just came in.
I got a couple of folks asking questions about technician setup. And I know this is one of those things that I've always felt is a little bit redundant. And Josh, maybe I'll let you speak to this, but you've got your selection under permissions to turn on a technician checkbox. Then you have another selection in the service menu to turn on that technician. And if folks are having trouble setting up technicians and then allocating them to the schedule, it could be that second, I'll call it redundant, piece is maybe overlooked. So Josh is taking us there now, and hopefully this answers some of those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go to system, we're going to go to security, we're going to jump into a user. The first thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure that technician box is checked. And then Brian, to your point, there's always that second step, going to service, down to lists, and over to your technicians and ensuring that that technician is in the list. And in the event that they are not, clicking the new button, finding the user that is referenced. This is where you can also set up their default pay rate. We'll get into that in another time, but you can click save. And now that technician should be listed underneath your technicians, not only to select in a repair order on a labor line, but also in the schedule.
Excellent. Yeah, I know that's not only for schedule related functionality, but just general technician related functionality. That's something that seems to plague folks. And in my mind, it's a bit redundant that we have two places, but nonetheless we do. And so hopefully that helps folks. One question that I'm seeing, and I get this question a lot, and I'm sure you do too, Josh, Diana, and Quentin, when will we see, or are we working on some AI? And I don't know how many secrets we want to reveal, but maybe we'll just say, yes, we are working on it. Do we want to say more than that?
I think more to come is a great answer, but it's definitely
Okay.
something that is very much a part of our product roadmap, is really focused on ways to use AI to make all of you more efficient in your jobs and help the service techs be more efficient. You know, and kind of even not quite along those lines, but people are wondering, like, how do other dealerships actually use this, you know, use Lightspeed, use the service scheduler to really make sure that their techs are efficient in doing their job. I mean, and some of that's just practices within a dealership. But I do know that we have a number of reports even within Lightspeed that can help you as a manager understand, like, who's your most efficient technicians. And there's a couple of things there that maybe you guys wanted to speak to as well.
Absolutely. So we did get another question about the recording. Where will it be located? If you'd like to take a look at this, usually it takes us, a couple of days. So let's say 48 hours from now. If you go to lightspeeddms.com and you go to the very top of the website screen, you'll be able to access this webinar as a recorded version, plus a plethora of other webinars we've done in the past that relate to best practices in service and other related functions. So you can check those out, maybe add that to your training repertoire for your business. So certainly appreciate that question.
Great plug for all the on-demand webinars. There's a lot out there. So, and especially if you're hiring even new employees, it's a great resource to get them out there and just kind of spend some time looking at the past webinars that we've done on many different topics too. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions too. Anything else that's popping out that you guys, I think we've answered, you know, a fair amount of them. Some of the other ones are very specific to individual users, where sometimes it's going to be more follow-up with our tech support team to make sure we answer exactly what you need to. I was looking at, like, can you show them even, Josh, like just the reporting that's available kind of just for the tech efficiency? Is that the right name, Brian? I always say it wrong.
Yeah, it's perfect. Sound like you've done this before, Diana.
Sounds like I've done it. Seen it, done it might be a stretch, but that's, I think it's a big one that, you know, people love, because they really can use the system to help say, like, who are my best technicians, and ones who are maybe struggling a little bit, what do I do to help them be more efficient at their jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be under service reports and the tech statistics report, or the technician efficiency report, where you can go in and you can set up particular dates, select specific technicians. And don't forget, we have a summary and a detail here, by the way. This is going to be the difference between what the individual jobs were versus just RO totals. If I click generate report here, looks like we've got just a little bit of information, but as you can see, we've got billed hours, credited hours, the actual hours that they were clocked onto their jobs, hours that they were available. So these would be the hours in which they're available to work. And then we can compute numbers for you. You don't have to go into an Excel document and go in and try to figure out that formula. We do it for you with the efficiency, productivity, and proficiency. Again, that was under service reports and the technician statistics report. A couple of other cool features here, by the way. You can print this directly from this screen, and you may be able to see, it might be a little difficult, but there's a cute little envelope with a cute little star on it. You can actually share this digitally. So as long as your communication accounts are turned on in Lightspeed, you could actually send this directly to your technician's email, so that you didn't have to, remember, we're trying to get away from that paper at some point in time. You don't have to print the paper off. You could actually send it to them, and you could go have a conversation with your technician about their efficiency, their productivity, or their proficiency, or all three, all right from here.
I can remember as a trainer going into dealerships and introducing this report to advisors, to managers, and then therefore to technicians. And it was always a nervous reaction from technicians, realizing that now all eyes are on them, and there's analytics that are related to what they're doing. And I understand that. It's kind of that big brother approach to what's going on in the business and when am I going to get in trouble. But I always preface this, and I think you just did, Josh, is this is a coaching opportunity. We're not trying to penalize anybody. We're trying to find where maybe we need to turn the AC on in the corner of that shop where the guy's working. It's so hot, maybe slow a little bit because it's hot. Maybe he's missing that 10 millimeter socket that everybody seems to use. But is there something we can do to generate more efficiencies, make each of these technicians more profitable, more effective in the business? This is a tool that lends directly to that, and it's a direct reference to what we've spoken about for scheduling and creating efficiencies and time savings in the business. So excellent.
Yeah, great points. And by the way, I need that 10 millimeter socket back that you borrowed last week, Brian.
I lost it. I'm sorry.
Everybody wants it. I said,
Yeah.
we've got time probably for just one more question too. It's like, and I've seen this before, like when they adjust like an RO on the calendar, does it adjust the labor on that RO? Like, what happens when you change those ROs? Like, how does that flow through?
Yeah, fantastic question. So when we go to the work tab and we go to the labor portion of the work tab, your labor session's down below. When you move a job from one technician to another, it actually creates a entry line here with a technician so that it will update the technician on the labor session. This will also allow them to be able to see that inside their mobile application as well. So don't forget that if you do move it from one to the other, you may have to come in and remove that labor session from that technician. You're always going to want to make sure that you're reassigning the technician to for the labor line so that when you close that out, the correct technician gets credit for that. But it does create an additional labor session entry for that tech.
Yeah, and I think maybe a follow-up to that, they're saying if it was still with the tech, so it's like basically you've created, something additional for them to do, the time has to expand. Will it automatically do that on the calendar?
So the calendar, when you go to schedule a job, so if I go to my ready to work and let's just go ahead and let's schedule this, you have the ability to calculate how long it's going to block off on the calendar by charge or flat rate hours. The default is the charge hours, and where that's feeding from inside the repair order is this quantity amount of labor inside that labor line. So if you were to go in and add an additional labor line or add an additional job and you were to put on a quantity of 1, it will block off 1 hour to the assigned technician inside the calendar.
Perfect. I think that answers a couple questions that have come in, just kind of how you do that. And I think, the key part is there's different ways you can set that up, as Josh just showed, like, it's these flat or whatever. So it's like to make sure you're doing it consistently and you have your plan within your service department as well.
One more thing I might throw out. Yeah. This might be a question for Quentin, perhaps, but the old scheduler, which is still there, and it's funny that we call it the old scheduler, but we do. I guess maybe that's somebody's humor. Anyway, will it be going away at some point? Do you have some thoughts on that, Quentin? Are we going to keep the old scheduler forever, or will it go away at some point?
Yeah, so at least what's on the roadmap right now, there is not a plan to get rid of it at this moment. So if you're using it, keep using it. Let us know that you're using it. We don't want to take away a tool from you that you're using. It's important that, you guys are satisfied with the tools that are in Lightspeed. And this is a big undertaking, getting this implemented in your dealerships. We understand that this is a big tool. But we want to offer you big solutions too. So please, if you can, get using this and become more efficient. I think it will help you so much. But there are some things, like changing processes that are difficult in any business. So we understand that. We want to keep that as a resource for you. So at this moment, no.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to that, Quentin, too. I think every time I talk about the service schedule with any dealer, one of the biggest things they want is to be able to print it. And we don't do that on the new one. So, that's kind of on us at Lightspeed too. We need to make sure that we've got equal or better functionality in the new scheduler so people feel comfortable moving off of the old one. So, and there's a couple of other features I know that we could call out too. So appreciate always the feedback on those as well. Great job, Josh. Fun to really just dig into service schedule. I think it's an area where we can spend even more time on. And that's, one thing we've talked about as a group too, that like there's almost like a service scheduler, 300 level course or webinar where we really get into more of the nitty gritty. And, that's almost like opening it up to smaller groups where you can actually ask questions because it's very specific to how your business wants to use it. And that makes it a little bit more challenging sometimes to present in the webinar, but hopefully it's provided you with a great overview of what Service Scheduler can really do for you. And if you have additional questions, I always encourage you to, again, of course, open up to talk to tech support, or we have some of the other resources that we've mentioned in this call, and we'll make sure that those are all available to everybody who is registered for today's webinar. So thanks again, Josh, Quentin, and Brian for an excellent webinar. And thank you to all of you for attending. And we hope to see you on another webinar. We've got a tech video kind of workshop coming up this next week. So feel free to look out at the website to look at all of our upcoming webinars and get registered for those as well. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.